So Lazard today came out with its third quarter results, but more importantly, it came out with a plan to cut costs. $125 million of expenses by the end of the year. That's a lot for Lazard, Anthony. I mean, this is something like 8% of their
it's just
expenses.
8-9% of their overall expenses.
So that's gonna be a grim fourth quarter inside Lazard.
Yeah, what they're saying is that we're going to take most of these 85 million is going to come from cutting costs in financial advisory, not asset management, just one half of the business.
So 85 million of the 125 is from compensation, basically.
Well, it's not actually dropping compensation.
Right.
They're going to fire people. They'll then decide at the end of the year what compensation they give to people. So it may well be that we'll see an even lower number.
Right. A lower number than the 85.
Yes. No, a higher number, so a lower number on compensation.
One of the perennial issues for Lazard out on Wall Street is that these guys pay out way more to their employees than they should, or than some of their rivals do to shareholders. So they have a comp ratio, right? So that's the basic thing that people look at, which has been something like 60 something percent.
It fluctuates between sort of 57 and 63%, right. And at the moment it's been, in the last few quarters, it's been sort of at the upper end of that. Now, if you look at other boutique-like firms like Lazard...
Don't call Lazard a boutique. We know that they don't like that.
Independent financial houses like Lazard. Greenhill, for example, its compensation revenue for the first 9 months of the year was 53%. They've always been pretty good at keeping it low.
And even at the expense of losing rainmakers. I mean, Scott Bach, the CEO there, has kind of drawn a line in the sand, and some people haven't liked it. And they've left.
I mean, some of them who've left have been old hands who they weren't producing as much, but yes, nonetheless, they've been losing people. Now, Lazard and Greenhill and even Evercore, another one of these independent firms, they always pay out more than Wall Street. Wall Street pays out somewhere between 35 and 45%.
So compared to like a Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley.
Yeah, but they have much bigger
operations.
And here you've got financial advisors who basically eat what they kill, you know, the M&A guys.
Right.
So bearing that in mind, though, what these guys have done is said, look, the environment is not as good as we thought it was. Back when they had their plan back in April, saying this is how we're going to try and improve our margins to, say, 25% by 2014. They're currently around sort of high teens. They said that what we want to do is make sure that we cut costs properly, but we also think revenue is going to go. So we did a calculation. If revenue goes up 10%, in both of their businesses, asset management and financial advisory. And if things go according to plan, they get the right multiples, the firm is worth double what it was, which is it's only up about 10, 12% since then. So just about double what it is now. It's not really getting there. Revenue isn't really going up, as we've seen across the industry.
So they're having to go into expenses. Now, there's also another sort of elephant in the room here, which is Nelson Peltz, who is the activist investor who owns, what, about 5-6% of the company. Everyone on Wall Street's been buzzing, about what he's going to do.
Yeah, and he's done it in a rather strange way this time. Rather than coming out and saying, we want you to do this, he's come out 2 months later and endorsed the plan that Lazard and Ken Jacobs, the CEO, came out with in April. So he's been an activist. So
he wants to hold Ken Jacobs, the CEO, to his promise, to make sure that there's greater shareholder returns.
He's been very, very pleasant about what Ken's doing. He thinks it's a great firm. But you look at this and you think, okay, so your expenses are quite high. Your stock hasn't gone up as much as maybe it could have done. Let's give him a few more months on that. So here you are, you're cutting a fair degree of costs. Nelson Peltz hasn't said a thing, but you know full well that if Ken Jacobs hadn't done this, then at some point Nelson Peltz would come.
That's what they call market discipline. All right, well, thanks a lot, Anthony. We'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.